Here you go, girls. There's some hen scratch for you. Oh, they love that. New handful of stuff to scratch through. What are you doing? Want to be on YouTube? Huh? You girls.
They just love a fresh handful of leaves like that, something to scratch and peck through. Yeah, they come running right for it. They're a lot of fun. They won't be laying eggs for probably a couple months. So right now all they do is provide some entertainment and a bit of fertilizer. Quite a bit of fertilizer. But that's good stuff for the garden. Yeah, gets mixed with all that leaves, and then I put that in a compost pile next year. It'll be fantastic. Yeah. It's not real cost effective, you know, with all the money and everything that goes into the birds for what eggs you get. But nonetheless, they're a lot of fun, and they make up for it in other ways. If you've been following my channel for a while, quite often when I was reflecting on the past, I would speak of how I made my living as an artist back in the day. When I moved to my first cabin in 1984 and went off grid, that's about the time that my artist career was starting to take off. And then in 1988, give or take, that was when I printed my very first line of limited edition prints. And then my career just evolved from there, and by 1999 I was making a really good living with it. But now I don't have the eyes or the interest for all of that, but I still have my art collection, and I'm just starting to sell off, and I want to sell off my entire inventory of art prints. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about the prints. When I did a drawing, I printed a limited edition of those drawings. Some editions were small, like 250, and some were larger, around 950. I told my customers whenever someone bought my art that all of my art is a strict limited edition. I don't do second printing, second edition when the first edition sells out. If it's an edition of 400, I sold 400 prints. That is it. They are gone for good. That is what makes art valuable, because when it is no longer available, the value skyrockets. Okay. So people have asked me if I would do a video and show you the drawings and talk a little bit about them, so that's what I'm going to do. We'll go inside, I'll show you the different prints that I have available, just show a little bit of close-up of it, and you can find them right in the description below. There's the Friends of Frankie and the Boss page. Lori set up a page on that site to sell the art. And already I've been selling them, and I haven't even announced this yet. So hopefully the whole edition, everything I have, will sell out. That would be wonderful, and that will help fund the new building project. But you asked for it. You wanted to see the art. A lot of folks wanted to buy the art. Here it is. It's available now. It's first come, first serve. We'll see what happens. So let's take a look at these drawings.
This print here is called A Cast in the Shallows. It's always been one of my favorites. It shows a brown trout in the shallow waters of a beaver pond, and he's just turning to go for a fisherman's fly. And if you look real close, you can see the fish line coming from the fly. There's a lot of detail in this one here, and there's a lot of beaver chewed sticks and whatnot in the shallow water. And there's even a crayfish down there. This print has done very well for me over the years in competitions. Now here is another one of my favorites. This print also has done real well for me over the years in competitions. It's won a lot of blue ribbons, I'll tell you. I titled it Forgotten Treasure, and anyone who likes antiques can understand where that title has come from. For one thing, you have the old Model A Ford, and then here in the rubble, there's old milk cans and milk bottles and wagon wheels and all kinds of cool stuff that has just been kind of forgotten about. This drawing has a lot of depth to it. You'll see stuff in sharp focus up in the foreground, but yet if you look way back, there's even a little farm way back there with a windmill and all of that. And I have raccoons all over the picture. There's one on the running board. There's another one there. There's another raccoon there. There's one peeking out of the car. There's a baby raccoon there. And way up here in the apple tree, there's even another raccoon there. If you look real hard, you can find a chipmunk. There's a chipmunk hidden in there too. Yeah. The original of this drawing took me 254 hours to complete. Yeah, it's always been a good one. This is another one of my smaller prints that I drew when I was in Alaska. It shows a cow moose here, and a little float plane there in the back of the cove, mountains, and birch tree. And when I signed this print, I even carved my name in the tree there, in the bark of the tree. It's called Wetland Wanderer, which is an appropriate name for the moose print here. Here's another one of my smaller prints, real simple type of drawing, as it just shows the subject matter and the rest of the page is blank. But this is a favorite. People buy this and they hang it in their bathroom, and I've sold a lot of them, and that's where they get hung, and we have one hanging in our bathroom. It shows an old outhouse there. I titled it Little Stinkers, okay, and that could be named after the outhouse, the skunks that are coming out of it, or even the trilliums here, which are also called Stinking Benjamins. It's a pretty cool little drawing. It's even got a little nest of phoebe birds on the window there, on the window ledge. Yeah. Now, back in the day, long before I had Frankie, I had a black lab, and she was my sidekick. She traveled to Alaska with me. She's been everywhere with me. And later, when she had gotten cancer and started to get old, I had put my canoe on my front lawn, and I got in my hunting clothes, and I got in the canoe with her and got a photo. And then I did the drawing of the two of us. Now, I look a lot different now because this was a long, long time ago. But if you saw the photograph that I worked from, you can see that it was a spitting image. Yeah, that was when I had dark hair. But this drawing's got a tremendous amount of detail in it. Just the detail that I put in the camouflage and everything right there. Yeah. And then it shows the swamp in the back with some ducks flying. The cattails and everything. Yeah. Always one of my favorites. I'll show you 4 prints in a row. These were from my very first run of prints from way back when I started my profession. This is actually the same black lab that I just spoke of. She was maybe 10 or 12 weeks old in this picture, and I photographed her and then changed her look a little bit so it looks like 2 pups. I called it Our Day Will Come because it's kind of like the 2 hunting pups waiting in anticipation for their first day afield kind of thing. In the first run of prints that I did, 4 different print designs, I had printed them in a bright white paper. And then over the years I had switched to a softer white paper, as you can see here. I just felt that it made it look warmer and just made a very nice look with the pencil drawing. I like to show this to people because sometimes they buy multiple prints to hang side by side, and my own personal taste is I just feel like the warm prints should be hung together and the bright white ones should be hung together or in different rooms. But again, that's just my own personal taste. Here's another one of my earlier prints. It just shows a hunter shooting at some grouse over a Brittany. This was my early style of drawing from way back, And I used a lot of scribbling, you know, cross-hatching, just kind of sketching. And then over the years, I refined my technique and got a lot more meticulous with my detail. But a lot of people still like that older, simpler type of sketching. Another one from way back. I think this is the very first limited edition print I had ever made. It just shows a flock of mallards during the fall migration. And again, just a lot of cross-hatching and scribbling done with the detail there. And that one's on bright white paper as well. And another one from way back. I did this drawing in 1985 when I was living in my very first cabin, and my only source of light was candles and lanterns. And I drew this from the light of a Coleman lantern. Okay? And it was kind of the simpler one where I have the subject matter, a tiny bit of foreground, tiny bit of background, and the rest of the page is white. Yep. This is one of my larger prints, also one of my favorites here. This one here, I did the drawing of a buck that I got in 1999. I think it was 99, maybe 98. He was the #2 archery buck for the state of New Hampshire that year. He was estimated at a 4.5-year-old deer, so I did his life cycle here. It starts out in the spring. It has a little fawn there, a little fawn. And then this grows up here to a summer scene, and it shows the buck with his first antlers there. And then it goes to a fall scene, a little 6-pointer, okay, a fall scene. And then down here is a winter scene. And he's an 8-point here. And then I just showed him here. Yep. This is a really, really cool drawing and quite the eye catcher. Yep. There's a lot of detail in this drawing. You have the trilliums, all the spots in the fawn. Yep. And the tree grows up and it turns into the grasses there. Yep. A very cool drawing. I was just going to do a head study of the deer, and then I just got a little bit crazy and my imagination ran away with me. And I call it Age to Perfection. And this one's printed on the soft white paper. This is one of my larger prints as well, printed on the soft white paper. Shows an old GMC with a truckload of shepherd puppies. Yeah. Look at those cute little guys, huh? And I titled it Precious Cargo, and you can see why. This print here has got a lot of detail in it as well. This one shows a ruffed grouse, or you can call it a partridge if you want, and he's drumming his wings. And in the fall, the male ruffed grouse will go up on top of stone or a log or something like that and go through this little drumming process. What he's trying to do is call a mate. Okay, he's drumming one in, and that's why I call this drumming up business. Alrighty, so here we have the partridge there, and here in the foreground I have leaves and acorns and all kinds of cool stuff. Lots and lots of detail in this drawing. It shows the birch bark peeling up and where a sapsucker has drilled holes in it. And then it shows stuff out of focus, off in the distance. Like this branch here is in the foreground, but then it turns and it goes away and goes out of focus. Same with that branch is out of focus. But yet these beech leaves in the foreground are real sharp focus. Yeah. And here's one for the cat lovers. This one shows a kitten, up on an old antique scale, and as it's on here and it's bouncing and the needle's moving back and forth, it's getting its attention. This is actually a photograph that I took of a cat on a scale like this. And then when I did the drawing, I added this old measuring cup with the embossed letters there. Yeah, that and the old aluminum measuring spoons there. And I call it Watching Her Wait, which I thought was a really cool title for this drawing. Yeah. And here's one for the dog lovers. A rather simple print where it shows the subject matter and the rest of the page is left blank. But it shows a litter of Rottweiler puppies looking to get into mischief. I like that little guy right there. Look at him. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool little pups they are. And I titled this one appropriately, It's Looking for Trouble. And to finish it off, this is one of my all-time favorites. It's called Country Comfort. This old Glenwood stove is the stove that I grew up with here at the camp. This kettle, the cast iron pans, the little coal shovel, all of that stuff are actually family heirlooms that were here inside the camp. I drew a cat sleeping under the stove, golden retriever, an old pack basket there. It's another little kitten on the stove there. And that drawing that I showed you, Our Day Will Come, I drew in miniature on the calendar there. It's got the old oil lamp from the camp here. Just a nice country scene there. Yep. And again, this has been one of my favorites from my entire collection.
Well, my friends, those are the drawings you've been asking to see, and I know it's been a long time coming, but I finally made it to New York. I picked up all of my art. It's all home now, all sorted out, and I've already been shipping some out. I gotta admit, folks, though, going through all of that stuff, what a trip down memory lane that was. Yeah, what a dream quest that was for me back then. And I've been drawing pictures my entire life, but my childhood dream, as most of you know, was to go and live in a cabin in the woods when I grew up. And I always thought, how cool would that be to live in the woods and make my living selling my art? Well, I finally pulled it off. It was a struggle. There was a lot of lean years in that profession. You've heard of starving artist, right? Well, but I stuck with it, and eventually it made me a really nice living. So you asked for it, here they are, and they are for sale. And like I said, when the editions are sold out, they are sold out. But you know what? The sad thing about being an artist is the prints really become really, really valuable once I kick off. Yeah. What's up with that? Anyway.
Frankie and the boss out walking in the woods, living life happy and free. Tracks in the snow everywhere they go. There's a pokey way up in that tree. A beaver built a pond where they have some fun, taking life a day at a time. Best friends until the end. Frankie and the boss. Frankie and the boss. Frankie and the boss.